I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined by Bret Baier of Special Report. Good morning, Bret.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I just heard the sheriff of Lee County say he knows for sure that the fatalities in Lee County, which includes Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, are in the hundreds. Do you think we have any idea of the immensity of this storm's damage yet, Bret?
I don't think so. I've got family and friends down in Naples, and my brother-in-law, his house underwater, and he escaped through a window. So I don't think we fully appreciate how many people may be trapped in homes surrounded by surging floodwaters, filled with a host of issues that obviously come with that. So I think with first light this morning, the authorities are going to be out and about and checking that out. And I think it's going to be eye-opening.
I just talked with Leader McCarthy. He did not think the CR could be open in time to put Florida and Puerto Rico relief into it, but that it would happen after the election when they come back for their lame duck session. I think that might change, Bret, if the pictures are what I expect them to be.
I agree with you. And, they've got their work cut out for them just to get funding, period, and across the finish line, which it seems like it will. But, FEMA is tied to all of that. But I agree, the big dollar number could be reassessed once we get a full sense of things. Southwestern Florida was really battered, and I think it was less about the wind and more about that surging floodwater.
Let me talk to you a little bit about how you're going to cover this tonight. By the time Special Report goes on the air at 6, you'll have had a dozen hours or so to sort of curate video. But what is your charge to the team this morning about how to cover something that actually we can't even get our arms around it for a few days, I don't think.
Yeah. So these things are challenging because getting to the places sometimes takes a while, and the hardest hit. So we've got a bunch of teams down in and around that area. They'll start to converge once they can start moving. Video comes from all different aspects and all different sources, and we'll be collecting that, as you mentioned, through the day to bring the best pictures. But getting a sense from authorities and what they're seeing and doing, that's what we're going to have. So I'll have the head of FEMA on Special Report tonight, and we'll have some local authority, probably the hardest hit areas, mayor or police chief, to get a sense of what they're looking at.
Now, Bret, you recall, George W. Bush did not go to New Orleans after Katrina. He flew over it, and it was a political catastrophe for him in 2005. More than 1,500 people lost their lives. It was more of a catastrophe for New Orleans and those folks. But the political catastrophe for George W. Bush after Terry Schiavo, after Harriet Miers, it was just the worst year of his presidency, '05. The surge hadn't happened yet. Iraq was falling apart. Joe Biden is not really the guy you want on the ground in a dangerous area. I mean, he's 80 years old. What's he going to do about this?
It's a good question. And it's, his first instinct yesterday was to talk about the oil companies and how they shouldn't raise gas prices in the middle of the hurricane. And I think we'll see, leaders rise to the occasion and they get the right people in the right places. I think a lot of hurricane recovery deals with the local authorities and the state and local authorities' ability. And fortunately, Florida has been through this a bunch and has a good track record. I talked to Senator Rick Scott, formerly Governor Rick Scott, and, there's a system in place. He went through 4 big storms. They have at least a lot of experience getting through it.
Yeah, Hurricane Sandy, President Obama's famous picture on the beach with Chris Christie, the hug that a lot of people put down with Sandy, Candy, and Orca behind Mitt Romney's disaster. I don't think there's any upside for Joe Biden here, but he sure could screw it up even worse. And it's hard to get below 39%, which is where the latest poll had him. But he could do it if he screws this up.
No, that's true. And it does take a little bit of messaging, and it takes some organization. But as I said, a lot of the positive side of expertise is going to come from Florida, so that helps a little bit. I do think that we don't fully appreciate the rest of this storm as it kicks up towards, Jacksonville and then goes back into Georgia and South Carolina. There's just a ton of rain and wind, and it's going to be messy all throughout that area.
Now, people remember Andrew, and DeSantis was talking about Andrew in the same breath. That means today is going to bring a lot of bad news. Let me close, Brett, by asking you about election 2022. I think the cake is baked. I talked to Adam Laxalt this morning. I talked to Kevin McCarthy today. I think the cake is baked, and Republicans feel very good about where they are because of the bad news for the country, the good news for the Republicans. I just don't know what Joe Biden can do to change the dynamic at this point.
I agree with you. I think that the abortion bullet, if you will, as a political issue has diminished a bit, and some of those numbers in some of those polls are actually pro-life people saying that it matters to them. I think that crime and immigration is under the radar in some of these polls as far as its import, but inflation and how people feel at their table, we talk about all the time. I think gas prices, from everything I'm hearing, are going to go up 30 to 40 cents before Election Day. And I agree. The cake, if it's not fully baked, the timer's ticking down.
Yeah, Florida might have some impact, but I can't see it helping them. Bret Baier will be watching for curated and comprehensive coverage of Hurricane Ian tonight on Special Report. Thank you for joining me.
See you.